has been a wonderful experience with the highs and the lows, serving in the Parliament of this country. When I started way back in 93, I should say I started hesitantly. In 1993, I was a student about to pursue a doctoral degree in Canada. At that particular moment in time, the University of the West Indies had seen something good in me and had offered me a contract to come back and to serve in St. Augustine with the expectation that I would become a tenure-track professor. They invested a substantial sum. At that time, I think it was over $500,000 to take me to Canada, where I entered the program first doing a master's, some selected courses, taking French as a requirement because at that time the secessionist fever was high in the province of Quebec. And the Canadian government at the federal level was attempting to show respect for the cultural preferences of the province of Quebec, being predominantly French. And in that regard, it was a requirement that those who were going to get the support of the government, by and large, had to know some French, because you should be able to communicate, and also that we had to enroll across the universities. I had chosen, or the University of the West Indies had selected Concordia as our home base. It has the strongest program in accounting at the time. I pursued studies also at McGill, at UQAM, University of Quebec, at Montreal, and at HEC, they call des hautes études, in French. So UQAM and HEC were two French speaking universities. It was an exciting time because Canada was my first international city, and therefore will always have fond memories. It was there then that I got a call one day indicating that the election had been called and that I was wanted back home to come and to contest. I had spoken with a good friend of mine, Julie, who was in Toronto, and she had advised me not to go. She said, but you're here, it doesn't make sense, the politics can't help you. I should stick to the academics, which I had then chosen. I had spoken after with St. John Payne, and he said, the best thing is to go home and talk with the people there, since they're saying they can't find anybody else. The rest is history. I came home, and when I came home, intended to say why I couldn't commit, there was a crowd of people from my constituency that I had worked in as a child, because my father had always been involved, active in the labor movement as a union shop steward, and latterly as the home from which the politics resolved, the list management, the canvassing. He was indoor agent, he was a counter for the results. Joan, who is here with us, was there as part of a large group from constituency number 7. And my mother was there. And I couldn't say no, and I couldn't say yes. So I said, I'll tell you all tomorrow what my decision was. Truth be told, by the next day, I thought that this was something that my mother wanted me to do. And I could not deny my mother, who had loved me so unconditionally, the opportunity. I was advised and very believed that I would not be encumbered by having participated, that they wanted me to run the election because it was clear from the people and from the polling that I was the only person who could bring home the constituency. So I came home just before nomination day. And I would say the groundswell of support as we left the airport into the country. Help took me. And that is why doing is right. I've said repeatedly that the people of constituency number 7 treated me always better than I deserved. The short space of time I came, but it was a constituency I had known because I had worked it. I had been perhaps the only young person at the time. The Labour Party was in the wilderness for probably some 13 years. And I was the only young person who was going around with St. John Payne in Lodge and elsewhere in Molyneux's. So all the people basically had known of this young man, Godfrey Nisbet's son. And so when I came, they came and they gave me fulsome support. In '93 I contested. I won every polling division in the constituency. In '95, because I had intended after that, it was a difficult period getting back engaged with my studies. I had to defer because '93 we had the protests which prolonged the interval away from my studies. I had to negotiate, as it were, with them that I could carry the load. I would still finish up my program. And, you know, that was an interesting season because while I was there going through the winter and calling, really, nobody in St. Kitts would answer. So I basically was alone, and the good thing that saved me in the program, because at the time the university was concerned, you have a scholarship, you go on home, you become an elected member. It seemed you were not committed, but the circumstances were such that I was led to believe, well, you go ahead, we will give you all the support, etc. But that is a long history for when I write my books, if I do get there. But the journey, as I said, has been a very eventful one. In '95, I came home and I was just about to go back to Trinidad because it started to render lectures at the St. Augustine campus in Trinidad as part of my preparation. And I would have gone the year before Trinidad, then come to St. Kitts, then go back to Canada. And I thought I will do it the other way. I will come home to St. Kitts, then I will go to Trinidad, from Trinidad go back to Canada. And when I was here in '95, the elections were called. And I had not intended that I would have gone back because I was bitten badly with the first experience. And it had created certain challenges for me in reorganizing my curriculum. But I was pressed on again, and I decided to do it again. Perhaps it was fate, truly fate, because I never envisaged a career as a politician. Growing up, I wanted to be a teacher and then a lawyer. And when I had gone to register at the university for law, that period had closed. And I thought I'll do the next best thing to the social studies. I was good in school, in the accounting, in econ, and in history, taught in part by the Attorney General, some West Indian history. But that was it. And in '95 I came, again true to the commitment that I had made that I wanted to complete my study. I took a sabbatical then and completed all the coursework and left with my comprehensive exams, as we call it. I want, without recounting every day and every event, to say that I owe a special debt of gratitude to the people of Number 7, who in real terms became extended members of my family. When I wake up with them in my house. And there is no secret in the house. It is the way my mother lived. She was tanty to everyone that had come. And so it was hard to change. But there are some very special people, like Miss Anju from Molyneux, who had been there and had been another mother, another champion, another friend. And many others you met too numerous to mention. People like Vera Samuel and Miss Willie O'Loughlin and all those people really became very special, because I remember after the 93 elections, with all the disputes, we had the period of curfew. I don't know if many persons remember. And I remember one night that I had happened to be there and the curfew hour had passed. So we were engaged in a lot of activities, and it was Willie who waked me up actually. And Willie was with me then, William Phillip. And when I wake up and I recognized time had gone, I was so tired I'd overslept. The curfew had come, I had no papers. Nonetheless, we managed to get as far as Leroy Byron in Shadwell, where we had stayed the night. So Willie has become my adopted brother in many ways. And there have been many loyal persons that have given me support. The elections of 2015 were particularly different because for the first time I was fighting, then after 93, first time, I was fighting on an opposition ticket. I entered fighting on an opposition ticket. And then in 2015, 2013, I revert back to opposition and was fighting. And again, my memory of gratitude has served me well. I will always be indebted to the people of Number 7, because when the challenge raged, fierce for battle, the people of Number 7 never abandoned me. And I marveled time and time again the difference between Number 7 and Number 3. And one of the difference that we were able to hold the team. The party team that I had developed in Number 7, save for 2 persons, remained. So those who came after had to go and find their own system to set up. The system that was there had stayed loyal and served me well. It allowed me as a leader of the party to go all that we went, doing canvassing, the core group of people. In Number 4, I remember we went up to the virtual high school, that housing project, and we spent some time there. I remember coming down on the other side, where we come down that one to go up by the Vati. There was a guy there who sold the Wingfield, the monkeys, and it was a core group of persons from Number 7 who provided that inspiration and support, and I want to thank them. I recall the last Saturday before the election, Lindsay Grant, then now the honored member for Number 4, myself, Slyban Camper, my brother Len, and a young fellow had a girlfriend in Old Road, met with a group of persons. That's where we Franklands, by about Hermitage Road, and we spent a lot of time with that group attempting to ensure the victory in Number 4. We had moved into West Farm thereafter and met with another group of persons there, and when that was done, we ended up in East Bass there. I think Patrick was late for the meeting, and so we started and had gone to Neverson Street. I want to thank some of the young people from Number 1, Canterbury, will always be a friend. He was one of the brave people who had worked with Douglas before, who had broken ranks, and who had come and given a lot of help and street experience. I know when we were on George Street and Patches was there, I thought that he had begun to enjoy it. And he was encouraging me to go down another street, and he said, well, I got to go home, because I really haven't been in 7. I owe an extreme debt of gratitude to my brother, who was my campaign manager. And with our team in the constituency, did an incredible job so that I had the wherewithal to move and to go and to provide help and support. As I look back over my own career over the last 26 years of committed service to the people, I've said to people when they ask, it's like any other job, but maybe in some ways it's so different. It has its highs and its lows, but it's a very demanding job. And at times people take it for granted, and you have to have a consistent engagement with the people. But I have really enjoyed it. I'm not sure if I were to live my life over again, I would follow the same path. But it has been a wonderful experience, and I want to thank God for the opportunity that He has given me, and the opportunity finally, not only to triumph as the member for number 7. We have done battle perhaps there some 6 times, 93, 95, 2000, 2004, 2010, 2015, and another time in the future. And they have never treated me other than excellently. So to the people of Bellevue, Tabernacle, Mansions, Christchurch, Borio, Molyneux, Phillips, Lodge Village, Lodge Project and Atlas, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. And to the people of the country who gave me this opportunity to serve as Prime Minister, I want also to say a hearty thank you for, at this point, to have reached the apex in terms of leadership at the political level in the country, and to know that I owe this to so many people. The People's Action Movement, the Concerned Citizens Movement, the People's Labour Party, and the people really who are not affiliated, for this opportunity to serve. I hope in some way I have met reasonable expectations, and that the opportunity of the second term would allow me to surpass most expectations. So again, to this country that I have loved, and to which I am committed to give every waking moment in service, I say thank you for favoring me with the opportunity for service. Finally, to all of those who have been part of this network, the prayer warriors at home and abroad, and I have to recall Nurse Garnet, because she's so special in many ways, my own prayer team, headed by Sonia Henry, and several others who want to place and record my deepest, heartfelt appreciation. To my own family who have suffered through this with me, I want to say thank you to them, for they have never pressured me. But I share their pain at times, only because they are my sibling, they get sometimes the unfairness of the political scrutiny. And so, in sum, I am happy I've had the opportunity to serve the country. I've learned quite a lot over the last 26 years. I've made my own share of mistakes. I've been wise enough to admit them. And my God of mercy has held me up even in difficult times. I want to thank Member for number 8 for all the kind thoughts that he had said. I suspect one of the things that drove me to the concept of unity, because unity was a people's concept. It did not emanate from PAM, from CCM or PLP, but the people. And the polls that were done in the lead up to the election clearly indicated that we had at one point 70% of the people who had said in repeated polls, that they wanted unity These were diverse people, die-hard supporters of PAM, like politics, die-hard supporters of labor, like culture, and others in between. The independents like Washi Archibald and so on, and other people who had come. But I recall one day my daughter had asked me to take her to Kayan one morning. And I really didn't inquire much. And I said, well, we're in Kayan. It was very early. She was going on a walkathon. I think she was going convent at the time. And as I drove, she said, go there, daddy, go there. And I go in and I recognize I going down, but the only house down there is Eugene Hamilton. I didn't expect she taking me there. And when I drove and drove, she said, stay here. And she dropped out. She went into Jean's house. And afterwardly dawned, oh my God, my daughter gone into Jean Hamilton's house. She told me her best friend lived there. We're going together. And I said, what should I tell her? Should I tell her you can't go to Mr. Hamilton's house where your best friend lives? Because he's a partner and I am labor. And something about that tells me that it was not the best way to live, to have allowed the divisiveness of the politics to enter and to prevent friendship. And I could not deny my daughter, her best friend, an account of politics. So maybe in a real way, that was an eye-opener, that the divisiveness wasn't a recipe for the future. And so when the opportunity came, history again would record that it was Eugene Hamilton and the Honorable Sean Richards who would have engaged me on this matter about working together in a collaborative way. And the rest really is history. I won't say too much about that. But talking, we have more years to go. So let me just say thank you. Thank you to all really for the opportunity to have served. And I shall endeavor to do my very best. Thanks again.